Are you hot?
Welcome to Throwback Thursday, a trip down memory lane showcasing the golden era of RC cars.
Hey, what is going on, YouTubers? Big Philly, Poor Boys RC. Thanks again for tuning in to another episode of Throwback Thursday. Today on the Throwback Thursday bench, we are looking at what I have to say is my favorite of all the buggies you see behind me, all the kits, maybe not every single truck. I can't say it's my favorite of all of them, but definitely my favorite of all of my buggies, the Tamiya Hotshot. The Tamiya Hotshot first debuted in 1985. I was 7. This was Tamiya's first four-wheel drive buggy and was considered to be the buggy to beat on the racetracks at the time. It's kind of funny looking back at the buggy today. It's kind of goofy monoshock design and odd, weird toe-in, toe-out front suspension. It seems kind of barbaric by today's standards, but in 1985, it was pretty freaking cool. I absolutely adore this buggy. All of the design elements, the monoshock I think is what does it for me the most personally. Four-wheel drive system, the big knobby tires, the interesting body design. Just everything about this buggy I absolutely adore. We're going to take a closer look at it. We're going to dive into this thing. You're going to see a lot of dirt, a lot of debris in this thing. This is definitely a runner, and a lot of the kits behind me, many of them haven't ever seen a battery pack go through them. This one has definitely had its paces put through it. I'll actually put a link to a video down below, a video made about 2 years ago now, where I took it out and bashed it pretty hard on the beach. It's a super fun buggy to drive. It's definitely a head turner, and it always begs the question, are you hot? So let's just start off with this awesome overview of the chassis as it sits. Again, we've got this monoshock design in the front. We have a monoshock in the rear. We'll check that out in a little bit. Nice big spoiler in the back, four-wheel drive, and ultimately just so cool and menacing looking. Another disclaimer I do have to admit, and again, I'm really sorry guys, but this is a re-release kit. It's not an original Hotshot. I'll go over some of the changes between the original and the re-release. Really, the biggest portion of that is to do with the rear heat sinks, but this is a re-release Hotshot. That being said, still very cool, still extremely vintage. Let's check it out. Front suspension. Have you ever seen anything so cool? Check out the action of that monoshock. I love it, and it's even adjustable. There's this collar right here where you can, mine's full of dirt and sand, but you can pull this out and you can even adjust the preload on the spring to adjust your front ride height. Pretty darn cool. The rear end has a very similar setup with another monoshock in the rear. And here the spoiler's covering it quite a bit, but you can see it back there. It's a really neat design. The shock is sitting up here on top of the rear gearbox in a totally unique location. I don't think there's ever been another buggy, especially a competition style buggy, which of the day, relatively speaking, competition being a relative term, ever had this type of design. But check out these two little metal links down here that are hooked to the rear lower A-arms, and as your A-arms flex, they push this piston up, which then compresses the upper spring. It's a really neat design, and while it's not the most functional, it looks really cool, and it actually works not that bad. There is quite a bit of a preload that happens when you approach a ramp, and it tends to unload as you release off the ramp, so the buggy likes to get a little butt happy off a jump, but it was 1985. Who cared? It was a lot of fun. One super important thing to mention is that the re-release kit comes with white wheels. The original kit from 85 came with gold wheels. It drove me so nuts having white wheels on this thing that I had to eventually upgrade to the gold, just because the red and gold on this kit, it just makes it come alive. It's really important to me to have the gold wheels on here, so I had to splurge and make sure I got them on this kit. And we have to talk about what might be what's arguably the most identifiable component of the Hotshot. It's these two heat sinks. Now again, this is a re-release kit, so these are non-functional heat sinks. These are just plastic heat sink wannabes. But if you look at an original Hotshot, those were functional heat sinks. all the Tamiyas back in the day, and Kyoshos and Maruis, everything that was hobby grade in that day, in that era of the 80s, had a ceramic rectangular heatsink. The Hotshot was different. It had 2 round heat sinks, making it very, very unique. That special little bit of styling has always had a special spot in my heart. And I'm so stoked that Tamiya decided, when they re-released this kit, to include that little styling design. It's very important. The chassis itself, as you can see, is very narrow. It's shaft-driven, full-time, 4-wheel drive. Open diffs on the front and rear ends. No center diff at all. And special note, you can fit a very much modern 2S 5000 milliamp LiPo battery in the battery compartment in this kit, which is pretty cool. And as you guys can see, I've definitely fitted this kit with a 10-turn brushless motor. And really, for me, brushless motors are important because I do a lot of beach running with this kit in particular, and I want to keep sand and debris out of my motor. So it's nice to have a brushless motor for that purpose. On top of that, it's a 4-wheel drive rig. It can handle a lot of power, and it feels perfectly at home with a 10-turn brushless system in it. Monoshock design, bright gold wheels, 4-wheel independent suspension, 4-wheel drive, 10-turn brushless all day long. This kit was the best thing out there in 1985. Thanks again, guys, so much for joining me today on Throwback Thursday. Totally appreciate it. Thank you guys for all the views, all the thumbs ups, and all the likes, shares, and subscribes. Lots more RC goodness coming your way. And as always, be excellent to each other.